Hello, welcome. My name is Eleanor Crawford, and I am a student at Oakland University majoring in Human Resources Development, and this video is for the class of HRD 4200 Change Process and Organizational Analysis. Today we are going to be discussing a topic from Chapter 15 of our book, Organizational Behavior, a Practical Problem-Solving Approach. The topic I'm going to be talking about is the foundation of an organization. To start, the book definition of an organization says is a system of consciously coordinated activities of two or more people. The definition is more precise because consciously coordinated emphasizes the significance of an organizational design, as stated in the book. There are four factors, that go into the phrase of consciously coordinated. Those four factors are coordination of effort, aligned goals, division of labor, and hierarchy of authority. Let's dive into what each of these means. Coordination of effort, let's start with that. When I was thinking about this before knowing what it means, I was assuming that it was the effort each employee was putting into the company. That makes sense. The actual definition of this is achieved through formulation of and enforcement of policies, rules, and regulations. My original thought was somewhat accurate. Employees need to put an effort towards those policies, rules, and organizations for them to be enforced, right? I think so. Next, we have aligned goals. The definition of this is start with the development of a company-wide strategic plan. These strategic goals and the plans are then cascaded down through the organization so employees are aligned in their pursuit of common goals. Now we have division of labor, which occurs when the common goals that are being pursued by individuals, they are performing separate but related tasks in pursuit of those goals. Lastly, we have hierarchy of authority, which is also known as chain of command. The book states that this is a control mechanism dedicated to making sure that the right people do the right things at the right time. A little confusing, but it makes sense. Let's talk more in depth about a hierarchy of authority. The book tells us, as I just had said, that it's also known as a chain of command. And if that is still confusing, I like to think about all the employees at a company. They all have managers, and those managers have to report to people that are further up in the company and so on and so forth. That's the chain of command. So at the very top, it typically starts with a board of directors, and this board serves as an executive committee, and they supervise the activities of the organization and the company, making sure the company's in good standing, giving advice, anything like that. Their main role is to provide direction for the overall organization. Then we have the CEO, which is the Chief Executive Officer. This person is responsible for expanding the company, driving profitability, and improving the company overall. Next, there's typically another layer of chief officers or administrative staff. HR is in that administrative staff that oversees different divisions and departments within the company. And after you go through all those divisions and those departments, it expands to managers and employees and line managers and all sorts of types. So that is what our hierarchy of authority is. Next, we are going to discuss span of control. And as stated in the book, it describes the numbers of employees directly reporting to a given manager. There are four factors that we're going to discuss that managers consider when they establish a span of control. These four factors are organizational size, skill level, organizational culture, and managerial responsibilities. So again, we're going to dive into what each of these means. To start, we'll discuss organizational size. And again, at first thought, when I'm thinking about this before reading the information, The individuals could be assuming this means the size of the company, the number of employees, the number of customers, maybe even the size of a company as a whole if they're a global company around the world in different countries, or if they're more centralized in the United States versus Europe. The book tells us that this initial thought isn't exactly what that means. To backtrack a little bit, when we discuss span of control, there are two types. There are narrow spans and wide spans. For a narrow span of control, it typically means it's a larger company and there are more organizational layers. And when there's a smaller organization, they tend to have a wider span of control. This is because with narrow spans, it increases expense of having more managers. Communication is affected because narrow spans must travel through multiple levels of an organization. Next, we have skill level. As the book states, complex tasks require more managerial input, thereby suggesting a narrow span of control. Organizational cultures vary with type of span of control. Narrow spans of control are companies with a hierarchical culture, and they become focused on internal integration and stability and control. Wide span of controls are going to be found in companies that want more flexibility, discretion, and they want greater work autonomy and participation. Lastly, we have managerial responsibilities. When discussing narrow spans of control, senior level executives tend to be more narrower than middle managers because their responsibilities are broader in scope, they're more complex, they oversee more people, and there's just a lot more to do, lots more responsibilities. So that goes over our span of control. So now we're going to be discussing about a learning organization, and this all has to do with a foundation of an organization. So the book definition is a learning organization proactively creates, acquires, and transfers knowledge and changes its behavior on the basis of knowledge and new insights. It is so important to understand how organizations learn because it directly correlates to the performance and innovation of a company. There are 5 independent sub-processes that relate to the overall process of organizational learning. These are information acquisition, information distribution, information interpretation, information integration, and organizational memory. So again, we're going to take a deep dive into what each of these means. So starting with information acquisition, it is the process that an organization uses to gather information from external and internal sources. This is important because companies need to seek information, for example, about past failures or past successes, and gather all of this information for our following step, which is now information distribution. This consists of processes and systems that individuals or groups or organizational units use to share the information among themselves. So they're gathering the information, now they're figuring out, okay, we have this information, how are we distributing this information? So next we go into information interpretation, and as the book states, this is all about the sense of information organizations have acquired and distributed, and in this process, people are affected by the perceptual biases and the decision-making biases. Knowledge integration occurs when information is shared and accumulated across different parts of an organization. So I'm in one department and I'm telling someone, I'm in HR and I'm telling someone in doors information, and they're telling someone in seats information, and that's how we're all learning and the information is being integrated throughout the organization. Lastly, we have organizational memory, which means learning will not last long unless the information finds a method to save it. The organization finds a method to save it. So an example of this could be organizations that provide e-learning courses to the entire company, no matter what the position is. It's an online platform that all employees, CEOs, managers can access. And these e-learnings could be about the company itself, different strategies to use in problem situations. There are endless e-learnings that could be developed to help people if they don't remember something or if they need to freshen up on things, to help with that organizational memory. E-learnings would be a great thing. So let's just refresh ourselves quickly on everything that we discussed. We talked about what an organization is, and again, it's a system of consciously coordinated activities or forces of two or more people. We went into depth about the different factors that are involved in the phrase of consciously coordinated, those being coordination effort, aligned goals, division of labor, and a hierarchy of authority. We then went even more in depth about what hierarchy of authority is in discussing what the chain of command is. So again, our board of directors, our CEO, administrative staff, managers, and then employee, and a brief description about what each of them do in an organization. We then discussed the span of control and the two types, narrow and wide. And to go even more in depth into that, we went over the 4 factors of establishing spans of control, which are organizational size, skill level, organizational culture, and managerial responsibilities. And to finish off this lecture, we talked about a learning organization and the 5 different sub-processes in organizational learning that makes it achievable. And with that is all I have for you today. I hope the things we discussed today about that foundation of an organization were helping and bettering your understanding of an organization. Thank you for watching.